Choosing your first sim racing wheel can feel very daunting. There are a lot of options and even more opinions about those options online. But luckily for you guys, I have driven most entry-level wheels to the point where I think I can comfortably rank them tier list style and tell you guys what I would recommend and for which situations I would recommend them for. And even though I like a lot of the wheels that I've chosen already, I can only use one. This one. But what wheel is this one? I will reveal it to you at the end of the video. But first, I would like to announce the launch of my Patreon. I know, it's time to cash out and crash out, am I right? But for real though, if you like the type of content that I'm bringing to the sim racing space, I would really appreciate it if you checked out the Patreon. My goal is to provide services that are actual good value for you guys. So you'll be everything from one-on-one lessons to video reviews. And the lowest tier is just for fans of the channel who want early access to videos and voting power on future videos. I think the best value tier will be the second one, which grants you access to 2 group lessons with myself per month for only $8 a month. All right, that's enough shilling. Thank you guys. So there's 5 tiers on this tier list, pretty self-explanatory. The number 1 tier is just my wheel. What wheel am I using right now? The second tier is what I recommend at any time. So if it's on sale, if it's in the middle of the year, nothing's on sale, I would still recommend buying it. That's how much I like the wheel. The third is recommend when it's on sale. So even though I don't think it's the best option at its current price, if it goes on sale, I think it's a capable option. And then the fourth one, recommend used. Some wheels I don't think are very good buying at retail price at all, but if you find them online at places like Facebook Marketplace, which are marked down because maybe someone's upgrading their wheel, in that case, I would probably recommend it. And then finally, wheels that I would not recommend no matter what. And then right now I'm going to be talking about only the wheels. So even though everything comes in a bundle with pedals, that doesn't really matter except for one exception, which I will make known when we get there. All right, so the first wheel that we are going to talk about is the very first wheel that I ever owned, the Logitech Driving Force GT. This is a old wheel. I bought it used 10 years ago. That's how old it is. But what this wheel takes the place of is all of the old Logitech wheels like the G27, the G25, the Driving Force GT. You can find all of these wheels at like Goodwills, Facebook marketplaces for less than $100, sometimes like $50, even $20 I've seen before. And if they're in working order and you can get the force feedback to work, I would 100% recommend this used because these wheels are capable of at least getting your feet into iRacing. So I used this Logitech Driving Force GT for like 5 years and it was completely serviceable for me. I loved it a lot for what it is and what the price you can get at secondhand. I really do recommend this Logitech wheel if you really just want to start out as cheap as possible. The second wheel on this list is actually the second wheel I ever owned, the second wheel that I ever daily drivered. The Logitech G29, or for my case, the G920. They're the same wheel, one's for Xbox, one's for PlayStation. This wheel I have the most hours in over any of the wheels in this list, so where would I put it? Funnily enough, I would actually put it in the same tier as the Logitech Driving Force GT. But why is that? Well, back when I bought the G920 brand new about 4 years ago, it was a different time. It was a different time because all of the direct drive wheels were so much more expensive than what the G920 was, and I still got it for around $200 back then, that it was a good buy for me at that point and I was happy with it. But this price has stayed the same while a bunch of the direct drive wheels have come down. And as a result to that, I can't really recommend buying the G920 brand new. I would either go further lower on the price point and quality, or I would go higher. If you find yourself in the middle and you can't afford the higher, I might default to lower in your case just so that you could save that money to upgrade in the future. The thing about the Logitech G920 though is it's just tried and true. You'll see some complaints about how it feels. When I used it, you could definitely feel the gears in it. So it's not a smooth drive. It has brushes in it. You could feel the gears churning as you're going. It's not very smooth. It's serviceable though, and it's definitely better than the other older options. But in 2024, I can't recommend it as a buy it brand new wheel. Last on the Logitech line for this list is going to be the Logitech G923. So this is different than the G920 where it is a belt driven motor, a lot smoother. I used this wheel very briefly using some third-party rigs, just kind of testing out the wheel, and I could definitely tell it was a ton smoother than the G920. But at the price point where it's at, between $300 and $400, again, I don't see the market for this wheel. I don't see why I would buy this wheel and not buy an extra higher end wheel for another $50, $70. So in that case with the G920, I would hesitate to put it in don't recommend or recommend used, because used you're not going to get much different for G923. It's just not at a price point where it's competing with anything that you're punching your own weight with. This is going to be controversial. I would say I don't recommend the G923. I would say either stay cheaper or skip ahead. I think that the gear to belt, while you can feel it, it's just not as big of a deal as going from a gear to a direct drive for the little extra money. This next wheel right here is a placeholder for any crappy bungee cord wheel from the 90s that you can get your hands on. I did a video where I bought a wheel for $69 from Temu, and it was bad. It's probably pretty self-explanatory. No force feedback, no nothing, just resistance from bungee cords. You don't want to do that. Get a used Driving Force GT before you would get a Temu wheel. All right. Next, this is a Fanatec Ready2Race, and admittedly, this is one of the wheels on here that I have not tried before. I've tried higher end Fanatec wheels. I've done races on the podium wheelbase, but I have not done a Ready2Race. But when I get to these type of wheels, I will be using sort of the consensus opinion between the internet, online reviews. Basically, think of me as an aggregate. And with the Fanatec Ready2Race, they are pretty positive about this wheel. It is a $400 range direct drive wheel. Pedals are sturdy, even though we're not really talking about the pedals. The wheel itself is about what you would want for this price point. And because of that, it doesn't really go on sale that much. I would actually recommend this anytime. Now, the difference between $200 for a wheel and $400 for a wheel is a lot. Don't get me wrong. But if you have the budget for a $400 wheel and pedal set, I would just go straight to direct drive, because if you are stuck in that $200 range, you could probably go even lower to some of the options on this list later, or go used. And it would just be a better use of the money than trying to go brand new in that middle of the road budget. All right, here's going to be a very, very, very controversial one. The Turtle Beach Velocity 1. Yes, Turtle Beach makes a wheel. If you didn't see the video that I made on it, it is a polarizing wheel. I have used this wheel for quite a bit, and I've come to the conclusion, even after my review video and using the wheel more, I've come to the conclusion that the direct drive in this wheel is inferior by quite a bit to the, in particular, Moza and Cammus wheel, which we'll get to later. But the thing about the Turtle Beach is that it is now dropped in price since I've made that video. It's gone from $650 down to $400. Now that's a big deal, because these pedals that come with this bundle, it's the only pedals on this list that are not the potentiometer. They are actual load cell pedals. And while they're not the highest quality load cell pedals, that is huge for a bundle like this, especially at the $400 price point. I am going to put the Turtle Beach Velocity 1 at the bottom of recommend anytime. And the reason that I'm doing this is not because of the quality of the wheel. This is my one exception that I gave myself at the beginning of the video. If you are looking to buy a bundle and just get it over with and say, I am not going to upgrade my wheel, I'm not going to upgrade my pedals, I want something that I will just keep for a long time and plug into my computer and it'll work, this is what you're going to want to get, because the pedals are so superior to all the other pedals on this list that it makes up for the lack of fidelity that the Fanatec and the Cammus and the Moza have. So that is my opinions on the Turtle Beach Velocity 1. If you are thinking that you are going to start upgrading your wheel, I would not recommend this wheel. If you are trying to buy a wheel and then buy pedals later, I would not buy this wheel. But if you are that specific person who wants to buy once and never have to worry about it again, this is what I would buy. It's the best bang for your buck if you are that person. All right, next on the list, another favorite of mine. So it might seem that I'm just putting direct drives towards the top and the non-direct drives towards the bottom. It's not like that, and I'll tell you, we'll show why later. So the Cammus C5 bundle, I would also recommend anytime. And I'd actually, in this case, would put it, in my opinion, it serves a different purpose than the Fanatec. The Cammus wheel is substantially cheaper than the Fanatec because the Cammus wheel, you can buy this bundle for sometimes less than $300, closer to $250, depending on what you get it at. And the Cammus wheel is different. The wheelbase itself is in the wheel. It's not a block in the back of the wheel. The drive comes from the center of the wheel itself, which is different. It's a different feeling to the wheel. And the force feedback on the Cammus is not quite as good as what I understand the Fanatec to be and what I understand that the Moza is. And because of that, if you are looking for a direct drive wheel at the very cheapest possible price point, I love this Cammus bundle. The pedals are crap, don't get me wrong, but most of the pedals are crap on this list. The wheel itself has some quirks to it. It'll feel a little bit grindy at times and not quite as smooth, but all the information is there. You are getting all the direct drive that you sign up for with this wheel. You're not losing any of that fidelity, and its downsides really just come down to a little bit of immersion. And for the price difference, I think that you can definitely make that choice, and I would say that's a good choice. So it's on the same level for me. This Moza R5 bundle is another bundle that I have actually driven, unlike the Fanatec. Comparing online, I have seen that Moza and Fanatec, most people regard them very similarly. You might say, oh, Fanatec's customer service is bad right now, or people say, oh, I've had a bad experience with Moza, but it's kind of tit for tat. The Moza and the Fanatec are almost interchangeable in that bundle space. So I would just say buy whatever brand you're most comfortable with. Fanatec recently being acquired by Corsair might be a cause to maybe want to go to them. Moza being kind of a new player in the game, but getting a decent reputation, that might be a reason to go with them. So now we are getting away from the direct drive wheels, and we're coming back to belt wheels and gear wheels. So this Thrustmaster T300 RS is a belt wheel, and from what I have been seeing, this is a wheel that I have not tried. These last four I have not tried, so this is what I've kind of aggregated on. The Thrustmaster T300 seems to be the best go-to for the belt wheel, and it seems to be at a more competitive price at times than the G923. It makes me want to put the G923 up in the recommended on sale too, because hey, if the sale is good enough, I would get it. And in fact, I think I might do that. Both of these belt wheels, they're completely good for what they advertise to be. I just don't see why I would use a belt wheel over a gear wheel with the price difference being as much as it can be. So for that reason, I'm kind of just averse to belt wheels. And that's why I would put both the Thrustmaster and the Logitech on the on sale. So the Thrustmaster T150, this is about as cheap as you can get. And this is also why I'm putting it up on the recommend anytime. Because my opinion with the current state of the entry-level sim racing wheel market is that if you can't afford to get the lowest end direct drive wheel, then I would recommend just buying the cheapest gear-driven wheel and using the difference in money to start saving up for the direct drive wheel. I think that's pretty reasonable because right now the Thrustmaster T150 is at about $125, which is almost half the price of the Logitech G920, a brand new wheel, and way less than half the price of the belt-driven wheels. And there have been tons of comparisons online about the G920 and the T150. Some people like the Logitech more. Some people actually think that the Thrustmaster is better. But the fact that there is a discussion and argument around it when the T150 can be so much cheaper than the G920, that just makes me recommend, even though I've never tried it, I think I would recommend the Thrustmaster T150 to anybody who's looking to get a brand new wheel, not have to worry about any of the used stuff, but don't have quite the money for the direct drive. And then the T248 is kind of more of the brushless gear-driven motor. this one kind of is in the same boat as the G920 for me. It occupies the same space in my mind, at least. Again, haven't used this, read a lot of reviews, read a lot of like Reddit comparisons, and there's nothing from anything I've seen about the T248 that makes me think I would buy this wheel brand new. Again, this is another $200 plus wheel when you can buy the Cammus C5 bundle for $50 more. I don't see a reason to own this wheel. And then in a similar vein, finally, the PXN V10, and honestly, any PXN wheel, never used it. I've seen many mixed reviews about it. Just wanted to include this to show that I did my research on if people recommended the PXN or not. You see them on Amazon a lot. It's more expensive than $200. It's not providing anything that the T150 could provide. Again, it's higher quality. Of course, you got a clutch pedal, you got a shifter, but I just don't think that the difference in money is worth what this would provide you over this. And yes, I understand this looks like a toy and that you might want to be a little more immersed and a little more serious going into it. But once you get into the game and you're driving the wheel, I promise you, your eyes are going to be ahead on your screen most of the time. The looks of the wheel, like people said the Turtle Beach looks really dumb. I can agree with that, but when I'm racing, I'm not really looking at it. That's my opinion. You might have a different opinion on it. So the final question out of all of this tier list is, what is my wheel? So I have used most of these wheels. What am I using right now? All right, so if we tilt it down, can you read backwards? It's the Moza. The Moza is just the smoothest wheel that I own. The Cammus is a nice wheel. I actually just recently brought it to my parents because it's so portable. I can set it up at their house and still do lessons and things like that. So that was pretty cool to be able to do that. But in terms of I have the choice out of any of these wheels, the Moza R5 is just the wheel that I am using right now. And we can take this and put it all the way up here. So here's the completed tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And as always, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you all on the track.